start recording. So, hello there.
Hello,
Thank you for joining me.
it's a
Let's
pleasure.
very well, very well. Let's start with some basics. What is your name, and what do you do in general?
My name is Hjalmar.
Hmm.
I am currently a student studying composition and writing works for various ensembles and various occasions. And I often use and utilize Emacs for that purpose, writing notation and supporting the compositions that way.
And where are you studying? This is a university that specializes in music composition, or a general purpose school? What is it like?
Studying at NMH, as it's called, which is the Norwegian Academy for Music. So it's Norway's biggest conservatoire, if you could call it that.
And does your study focus in a specific kind of music? Like, how does this work? Or you study music theory more broadly? Of course, I'm completely ignorant.
I'm studying predominantly composition. So we have just one study for all like composing. In our studies, like mostly we're writing music, and we have like a very wide variety of genres and types of people. So for example, I write a lot of scores and do a lot of pen and paper composition, while we have other people who do like a lot of electroacoustics, producing, sound design, and everything like that. A pretty big spectrum. And on the school, we have all kinds of studies. So it's everything from violin to jazz to pedagogics, jazz.
And do you have a specific interest, like where you want to focus more?
Right now, I'm still a bit like on the field and seeing what works for me in a good way. But I believe a lot in just like taking what I'm good at and what I can do and just like toying with that. So I'm an old violist, and I usually use the viola as like a tool to develop my techniques and my compositions further, and like playing what I'm right and being a part of bands and performances live on stage.
Very interesting, very interesting. And have you performed live on stage? Like, is that something you do or you enjoy? You do frequently, maybe?
Not frequent. I'm still in my very young years, still a student. So mostly it's like part of university performances and like local stuff. But I still have a bit of stage fright, so I'm working on that.
I imagine, yeah, I imagine. It must be very difficult, yeah.
Yeah.
And how many years is the study? Like, I imagine there are levels to it, right?
Yeah. I do a music bachelor, so we're studying 4 years. And I think the theory behind it, it's like instead of doing a 3-year bachelor, as we do in Norway in other studies, we have like 4 years. We can do 1 year of exchange or 1 year or something different and not lose study time. So,
okay, and I guess that extra year counts towards the second degree. How would that work? Like a master's degree?
No, I just think it counts like as bachelor.
Okay. Okay. Good. So you told me that you use Emacs to write your scores. First of all, how did you? Oh, you will tell me, of course, how you use Emacs. But first of all, I'm curious. How did that happen? How did you discover Emacs? What was it like?
For me, it was in a large way an Corona project. Like in 2020, when everyone got their hobbies and start like doing new things, I was like, had a lot of spare time. I was like reading all the Emacs manuals just for fun and doing it that way. And then just stuck. And I don't know now if I would learn and put in the effort in learning Emacs now when I don't have much free time. It's like I had the possibility, I had a time frame to like put in the effort and learn, and now I'm stuck, you know. And it's harder to get out.
Yes, of course, I understand. What were you using before Emacs? How was the world then? Like in terms of writing your music?
I had a period, like earliest on, I used like the GUI programs like Sibelius and that stuff. And I was like quite satisfied with that. So I moved on to LilyPond and used like the LilyPond Frescobaldi, which is like an EDI specializing in LilyPond. And used that program for a while. And then I ended up with Emacs.
Okay, very good.
It was like a journey for me.
Oh, interesting. So now that you are on Emacs, so you have been on Emacs since the coronavirus crisis. Have you been using it consistently since then, or did you just learn about it, but then did something else and then rediscovered it?
I think I've always used it in some way because it's like I had a need of writing notes and writing music regularly, and I haven't like used any other options since then when doing scores. And actually, I think I used it very much in the beginning, like Emacs for everything and calendars and stuff. But now it's like mostly for writing music, and mostly just for that.
And how is writing music? How does that work?
I think it's very personal and very like individual how many people do it. My classmates I know have very different methods and outlooks than I have. So for me, it's very much like doing sketch and writing a lot of notes by hand and having a very like clear view of what's happening before I put it into LilyPond, something. But other people write like straight into LilyPond or straight into Sibelius. But I used to have like a few phases of sketching and using pen and paper before that.
Okay, interesting. I try now to understand how this works. When you sketch it out, in your head, do you also hear the music? Like, do you have that? Like, in the same way a painter or somebody who draws a sketch has a feedback of what they are drawing.
It's very funny because I think I can get many of the things that are happening in the sheet music in my head because of like viola playing, especially string parts come very natural in my head. But other places I'm like very lost. And then I often like play it for myself, either on viola or on the piano. And sometimes I'm like, it's a very weird habit, but I often whistle my pieces when I write. And it must be very weird sounding for the neighbor, I would guess. It's like,
Sure, but whistling allows you to basically express it.
yeah, absolutely. Do you whistle?
No, I'm terrible at it.
Oh,
I'm ashamed to admit.
yeah.
I would like to, but I can't.
Yeah.
So on the Emacs side, what's the workflow like? So you have sketched the piece. You have sketched what you want to do. Then how do you move to Emacs?
I think for me, LilyPond and the Emacs side of it is mostly of what do you say, engraving program more than a composition program. So I just like view the paper with my left eye or something, and just have one hand on the keyboard and write everything in like a machine almost.
Okay.
And then I'll probably have a document with everything on. And yeah, LilyPond is very like okay to do that sort of things in. And also Emacs, just like writing over and transcribing and writing falsely, which is, yeah.
So LilyPond, somebody who doesn't know LilyPond, when you have the Emacs buffer and you are writing, what is LilyPond like? Is it like a markup language, like some characters have special meaning, or how exactly, like what are we looking at?
It is a dialect of LaTeX in many ways.
Ah, okay.
I think it originated as a specialized version of LaTeX with just notation glyphs. And it just like went on from that. And the thing is, you write A, B, C, D, E in a text document for the note names. And you write some special symbols for articulations. And you use the traditional \LaTeX commands for special features and other notations. Yes.
And when you write this, I imagine you can have it in a standalone LilyPond file or with org and go through org into the final document.
Yeah, absolutely. When I started out with like my Emacs experience and stuff, I tended to do everything like large LilyPond files and those like weird spaghetti code kind of ways. Especially like when they're just transcribing from pen and paper to LilyPond, it tends to like easily get that way where you can't edit your files and the editor lags and it's too much to handle. And not only for my editor's sake, but also for my sake, I've learned to split up, take breaks, and writing music in like smaller parts, usually embedded in an org document or in smaller files that are treated by a make file to make a score, bigger score. And I like, in that way, I both can take breaks, have a better overview of my documents, and I can easily compile everything to bigger document whenever I want. And I have a clear view where my comments are and what my thought processes are when writing over and when thinking about it. And that's like a very big helper for me also. The way that LilyPond and org enables commenting in my music files. And I think I've learned a lot myself of my composition ways and my kind of music just by having those very verbose comments and very verbose files.
So you have org where you can combine all those comments, prose in general, and you have code blocks with LilyPond notation, and you tangle those, and then you compile them into a single document. That's the workflow, basically?
Basically. And when viewing the org files, there is like this Org Babel LilyPond library, which you can use, where you can have thumbnails of LilyPond code blocks displayed in notation inside org files. And that's been a big helper for me as well.
And how does that work? Is it like some parameters you pass to the code block, or there is some other arrangement that you need to set up?
It's most like you designate an output file in the code block and use like thumbnail on or something.
Okay.
I remember.
Okay. And the thumbnails, I imagine, internally are basically the same as any org link to an image which can be previewed.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, sounds good. Yeah. And how do you find this process? Like from because you mentioned like the comments help you. Like, how do you find this process in terms of yourself understanding your work?
I feel I'm like I have a tendency to be very chaotic at sometimes, and very like what to say, untidy in my workflows and in my creative processes. And in that way, it has become a bit easier to manage and sort things out when using these kinds of digital tools. Just to have everything on very neat and tidy, any concrete documents. And then it's easier to revise and go back and check things, which can be a bit like stressful and weird if you have 20 pages of handwritten notes and markings.
Yeah.
So like revision process is very like helped by this. And that's a way for me also as a university student to learn and better myself, I think.
Good. Do you as part of this process of creativity, which you say is chaotic, like to me it sounds like it's a fermentation process, like a lot of bubbling effect going on. And I imagine you create somewhere in one place, then you move to another place. It's not like a linear progression from beginning to end.
No. As I say, I think we as people tend to have very different creative processes and creative outlooks. And I know like my creative processes aren't the same as my classmates always, and probably not even yours as a creative writer. But I like the way of doing a lot of sketches and having a lot of material, and then working through revisions and through like watching over and reading over like a big chunk of material and cutting away all that's unnecessary. I don't know what you do with like writing and are you the kind of person that have like thinks over every like tiny step and sentences as you go writing an article or a text, or you're the person who writes everything in one go and then just writes?
So I write it in one go and then I publish it. I don't revise.
Oh.
Because what effectively happens, so I picture the creative process. Of course, this is schematic, this is simplistic, right? But I picture it as basically fermentation, so the bubbling effect, and distillation. Yeah. So fermentation and distillation. And for me, the fermentation happens in my head. I never sketch anything, I never draw anything. And then when I write, it's the distillation, where it's like I wrote it, it's exactly what I think. It has mistakes, I'm not saying it's perfect, but it's exactly what I am capable of in this moment. So then I commit to that. But of course, in my head, I always think.
So in a way, like that kind of reflection and revision process happens even before you start writing?
Yes. So it basically happens constantly. And I have learned over the years to let it bubble up. In other words, I don't allow every thought that springs to mind to call for my attention. It's like, oh, great idea, let me write it down. No. What I do is I let it bubble up, and then I'm like, okay, great idea. but let's see if you stick around. If you stick around, then I will think about it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like that. Yeah.
I guess not all ideas are great ideas.
Yes. And I imagine you also realize that when you are doing all these sketches, because the principle is the same, right? So you do a sketch or you write something in org or whatever, and I imagine you discard it or you revise it and you never discard anything. How is that?
I often discard things.
Mm-hmm.
I have a tendency almost. It's a luxury I can have when living on student loans, to write every piece almost 2 times.
Mm-hmm.
Because I write a piece and I'm not happy with it. And this piece looks written for an occasion. And I think, this isn't suitable for that occasion.
Mm-hmm.
And then I almost scrap a whole piece before starting anew and writing something with that experience.
Mm-hmm.
And the second piece usually turns out pretty nice and pretty okay.
And is the second piece like a continuation, like the spiritual successor, if you want, of the first piece? Or is it a different entity altogether?
In most ways, I would think it's an antithesis in a way, because it takes up and builds not mainly on the material from the first piece, but from the faults of the first piece, and from the ways I can correct the faults from the first piece.
Fascinating. Fascinating. Yeah. That's an interesting way of approaching it. Yeah. And I'm interested though, so of course you have the first piece, then the second piece is kind of the counterpart of that, the antithesis of that. Is there something from the first piece that is retained though?
I would guess.
I mean, at the explicit level, not, yeah.
At the explicit level, yeah, probably. Sometimes I do like and Woody Allen is cancelled now and everything, but sometimes I do like the Woody Allen method of cutting up old papers, old documents into like smaller pieces of notation. I cut up old scores and have like 20 small paper pieces of scores on the my desktop, and I just like shuffle it around and see what comes on, if I get anything out of it. So I'm a huge fan also of the copy and paste method of reusing things. And it's weird in a way because I don't think it sounds very like the original material after you cut it up and resorted it. But it is the original material in every possible way still.
Yes, indeed. I imagine that process, of course, you can shuffle the papers physically, but that process also happens in org, where you move headings around.
I used to have very small org files, I think, with just some kind of sheet music just for a little bit of sketch and a little bit of stuff. And I like copy and paste, and use like the insert file feature in Emacs to do like the condensing and making like an actual piece of music from these weird cut up sketches. So the insert file function has always been a friend of mine when working through material.
Interesting. It's a feature that I haven't seen being used a lot. I have seen, of course, in code, and I have written in code, insert file contents in a temporary buffer. But what you are describing now is a little bit different. So I haven't heard much about.
Because I would think, like mostly in code, it's more customary to split up bigger files into smaller files. Whereas if I want to write a big LilyPond file and compile, it would be more intuitive to go the other way and combine multiple smaller files to bigger file. Which is, I think, pretty weird and maybe a bit of like contrary to the way and the kind of workflows Emacs are intended for.
Like for on the coding front, yeah.
Yeah.
When you do this process of shuffling your work, is there like a theme that runs through all of the snippets, all of the pieces? Like, is there like a leitmotif, or I don't know how we would call it, even the common in the multitude? Is there something there, or do you add it later?
I would guess. I think I have pretty like simple motifs when I write. And very like, even if I have a lot of sketches and different processings of things and different outlooks on the base material, my base material usually tends to be like a descending fifth or like ba-bum or something. And I think it's like great to have that kind of like coherence in a piece. But sometimes I feel like I'm trying to learn a bit like composition during my studies and stuff. And I think like that thing of me having so little material usually ends up with me processing that material in so many ways that I lose that coherence sometimes.
And I imagine it's difficult to add it after the fact.
Yep. I think after you have added too much salt and made too much a jumble about from your like original material and thematic cohesion, it's very hard to jumble it back again and make something like very straightforward and cohesive and understandable from it.
I imagine now, of course, I don't know, but I imagine this will also come with experience, right? Like the more you do this, the better you will get at a coherent result.
I hope so.
Okay, but we will see. How is now using Emacs as someone who, from what I understand, you use it for music and basically that's it? Or do you have other workflows with it?
Pretty much music, a bit of note-taking, and a bit of like to-dos and syncing them with my calendar. But mainly just for music. And I would say like, I do a bit of like coding on the side. But I think if I've just done coding, I could do it in a different way. And it's like, it feels a bit weird like using a coding app mainly for doing something different than coding. I don't know how many Emacs users that there are like specializing mainly in a different kind of workflow. But I hope I'm not alone at least.
Yeah, no, I think you are not alone because, of course, Emacs is really a good programming app, really. But there is no reason to use it for programming. Like it's perfectly capable as a generic text editor. Of course, maybe why would you use Emacs as a generic text editor? But it can definitely do that. But also with Org, I think, it totally allows people like yourself, like academics, like journalists, to basically do a lot of writing. In this case, of course, you are also doing writing. So writing in the broad sense, not necessarily prose. To do a lot of writing without doing any coding, basically.
And not only am I like avoiding the coding part of it, when I write on a black background LilyPond, I'm also avoiding the formatting part of the process,
Good.
which I really love having that possibility. Not only writing Emacs in Org, but also writing notes in Org and exporting through LaTeX. I have I can work on a text or a piece for 6 hours and never touching a margin width or like a font size. And I love that possibility when using Emacs, which I don't really get. I feel like using a GUI for music composition.
Because those are the what you see, what you get kind of approach.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is a double-edged sword.
The infamous magnetic layout where you move a note and need to do like 5 minutes of drag and drop and pulling margins and bars together to get it to look nice again.
Yeah. I can imagine how it is from my experience with what you see is what you get word processors, where I would spend an inordinate amount of time on these kind of typesetting issues. It made no sense. It was always a pain.
I think I tend to still use a lot of time like tinkering with layout settings, tinkering with Emacs settings. But for me, that is at least separated from my proper workflows. And tinkering with layouts and Emacs have become more like a hobby I do on my free time, rather than getting my workflow and workday interrupted. And sticking with doing it in the middle of having a musical ID or writing something for a deadline.
Yes. And I think the difference here is that if you are trying to get the layout right for your work, that is effort that basically doesn't pay off long term. Basically, you have to do it all the time. Whereas with Emacs, if you tinker with the configuration of Emacs, maybe you will learn some Emacs Lisp in the meantime, which can help you improve your workflows. But also, what you write there can make your workflows better in some way, like a more comfortable layout or some keyboard shortcut that automates some part of the process. Like all these things that can make it feel more comfortable, more convenient.
Also, I would think both Emacs and LilyPond do what they're told in a completely different way than the magnetic layouts of Word and Sibelius, which is like the main what you see, what you get music editor. Where even if I try understanding how Sibelius works, it's like the magnetic layout still works in unexpected ways. I still get weird layout quirks, which doesn't really follow logic, and it's pretty hard to configure away, even when like knowing the rule sets and the workings of Sibelius and Word greatly. Yeah.
So in effect, you never feel empowered. It feels like you are always guessing if it will work or not.
I would think so. And I like being in charge and having like telling my computer what to do. And not having the computer tell me what to do, how to write, how to have my music, and how to organize my workflows.
And I resonate with that. It's the same for me. And maybe it also has to do with the creative mind here, where I find, granted, we said that we are different in this regard, but I find that if I don't have control over my tools, it's basically not possible for me to actually get the creative juices flowing. Like I basically hit a block. I cannot continue. I get distracted.
Yeah.
And I don't know if the same is true for you, where having control, knowing if you do this, this is what will happen. If that kind of eases things for you and you are able to continue with your creative process.
Absolutely. If something should set rules and like constraints for my works and my life, I want to be able to set those constraints myself. Like only composing with the note C, or like using scissors or using dice in my works. But when using maybe what you get editors, or using AI, or using I don't know what kind of computer tools, often like it's both setting constraints for my work, and it is setting constraints that I don't know what it's about. And I don't know who's setting those constraints. And that really irritates me as a control freak.
Yeah.
Not being able to know where the constraints and where the rules are coming from.
Yeah. And of course, irritates here basically means undermines the process of creativity.
Yeah. I believe like agency and the possibility to feel like, yes, I'm a part of this culture, of this work, of this music. For me, that is an essential part of the joy and the fun things about art. And I guess like especially AI is removing that part very greatly.
Oh, now you made a very good point there. Yeah, because and I'm curious to understand more the experience of what you just described. So, where do you see this agency be made manifest? Is it in the process of the creation, in the conception of the idea, in the expression of it, in all of it? Uh, how exactly do you experience it? I'm curious to learn more. And of course, maybe you don't really know, but yeah, how does it feel?
I mean, I think like the the idea of if it was so like that the AI or that like the what you see also is what you get editor had like the power to just like support and change one part of your workflow, like the idea getting or like the processing or the jumbling of ideas, that would be pretty okay for me in a way, I think, rather than like it's taking over multiple parts of my workflows. It's like destroying the like boundaries behind brainstorming, reflecting, revising, and performing, and not having like that clear kind of visions that you get from having like a bit more traditional workflow. I believe that could destroy a bit of the agency part of making art, making creative things. Like it's more about jumbling the workflow and jumbling the parts of the workflow than actually taking over specific parts of the workflow.
Yes, as you told me earlier. And I think that's important. That's important because it's not really editing, and as in the sense of removing parts. It's really reordering, the jumbling effect that you are describing. How is now what you are now telling me about agency, how is that for works that are in groups? Like, how does that work? Like, because I imagine you do a performance and there are multiple instruments, right?
Yeah.
So how do others, like your classmates, how do they feel about this? Like, do they have a passion for music, or it's like, okay, let's get it done and not worry about
I
it?
have very like passionate classmates,
Mm-hmm.
and I think I have very like creative and like exploring classmates. And it's like very much in a study we have the idea of bending roles in composition, like disintegrating this kind of traditional notion that I write music, you need to follow my music, the audience need to listen to my music. For us, and for many of us, I think it's more like, how can the audience take part in this? How can we compose things and play things and improvise together with the ones who are performing and with us? And how can we like break apart those like traditional like roles in a music performance to try something different and get more of the kind of feeling where both the audience and us who are on stage feel like we're all part of this. We all have something to contribute. We all have something to do.
Fascinating. Yes. And how does that work? Like, I understand like the traditional approach where basically you read what is in front of you and you play it, and basically that's it. How do
Yeah.
you break that? Is it premeditated, or somehow you have the intuition where to break it and you are in sync with your with the others in the band or the orchestra?
I think there are so many possibilities to do that. So even from I guess the easiest way to think of this is like the jazz band approach,
Mm-hmm.
where you take your freedom as a performer and you can stretch it further and like do an audience choir or get the audience to sing with.
Oh.
And I'm doing a piece right now in April where we're doing, you know, the Kahoot, the quiz program.
No, I don't think so. Like,
We're gonna have a live voting up on a projector where
okay.
the audience can vote and decide what kind of music will come in like 30 seconds.
Oh,
And
very
that's
nice.
like a very banal
Mm-hmm.
and kind of funny way to explore agency, I think also.
Oh, that's cool.
So
That's cool. And how is the audience in a performance like that? Like, because of course, like in my head, they are just sitting there and they are really quiet. But it's not that, from what I understand.
yeah, it can be a bit hard
Mm-hmm.
sometimes to get strangers to have the same kind of enthusiasm about voting or singing or like doing something different than sit during concert. But do think like that kind of audience culture will come with time also.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's like sometimes it lacks a bit enthusiasm and
Uh,
people.
is there basically the equivalent of a claptrap, basically some way to get people to respond? And what I mean by that is there, I don't know, like somebody who is singing and says, "Hey, now we sing" or whatever. Like, is there some way to basically tease out that response from the audience?
I tend to be a bit like over explaining sometimes, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And for example, if I do a bit like music where people put up their phones and stuff, And then it's really easy just to put in a long explanation or like text explaining verbosely what they're going to do and what you're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Other times I just like put a text into the middle of a piece and just like, hey, you stand up, do that. And I don't think I'm afraid of like doing verbose instructions
Mm-hmm.
inside of my piece and as a part of my performance, like everywhere. And I don't really have like that kind of, like with old artworks, you have like this respect for the integrity of the artwork and should not like put in instructions and social cues and destroy the integrity and like the great whole artwork.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't feel that way, and I'm like all for blending the artwork in with the outside and with the audience situation and with food and drinks and talking and internet and everything.
Sounds
So
fascinating.
so the borders between what's music and what's not music are a little bit like more blurry, and that gives a better possibility for explaining and guiding.
Let me ask you now, because of course I don't know much, but maybe you know. Like, I have heard, like in theater, they have this concept of breaking the fourth wall.
Yeah.
And the idea is that when you are looking at the stage, you see three walls: your left, your right, and behind. And then the fourth wall is through your eyes. That's the idea. And then breaking the fourth wall basically means that the actors kind of notice you, and it's like, well, we see you there, kind of thing, and basically interact with the audience. Like, have you drawn any inspirations from theater or from such creative endeavors?
I think it's like a bit different in deploying the like fourth wall strategy in music, because I'm unsure if we have like the standard three walls perspective in music. Like we're not displaying unlike social situation or like an interaction or something human on stage. We're displaying something inherently abstract, and I don't think you get like always the same effect with like breaking and introducing interaction in purely musical, non-dramatical pieces like you get with like audience. But I do believe there are some like conventions you have about where the audience is going to be, how the audience is going to be interacted with, and if they're like going to sit, if they're going to stand, if they're going to sing along, if they're going to be a part of it. And it's very fun to break those conventions and explore that as an possibility for exploring.
When you do that, do you ever encounter people who feel that something is wrong and they don't like it, like they take offense to it? Or do you get a more playful response? Even if, as you told me, there isn't that much of enthusiasm as you would like, but do at least people try to play along?
I think people want to be challenged and want to like learn new things. And as long as we don't get hurt or like have a bad time, it's probably like going to turn out great. And I'm a very like optimist in that way, that I think people want to hear new stuff, discover new stuff, try to get different outlooks, new outlooks, learn from each other, and grow in that way.
Yes.
That's like kind of mentality I usually work with.
What about in your university setting? what is the view of the instructors, like the people who are grading your work and who are teaching you? What is the vibe there with regard to this approach to creativity or performance?
I think they're very open, and some of our teachers even work with that kind of settings as well. In regards to grading, I don't really know how they're doing the grading of music in a time where we don't have the concept of craft and what you say music creation the way we had 100 years ago. So I think they're most judging on how well are you achieving that idea that you tried to manifest through music in the music you're making. So that is grading.
So it's a more qualitative approach, trying to gauge whether you are making progress by paying attention to what you are doing rather than some standardized approach.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds difficult.
It's weird. I don't think there's many other possibilities for making new music and learning new music today than setting your own standards and working through your own views and your own perspective in a world where everything is so fragmented and we don't have mainstream tradition and mainstream culture anymore the way we had it 20 years ago, 50 years ago.
And this fragmentation, do you think it's technological and it has driven social change? Or is it basically some change of generations within the society where the newer generation just wants to try something new? Because also in art in general, there are these trends, right? Like fashions. We do one thing, then we get bored, we do something else. So is it more of a fashion change or a technology change or a social change? If you know, of course. Yeah.
Couldn't be a combination of multiple factors. Often we talk about the internet, I've heard, how the internet enables a more multifaceted worldview and the possibility to connect with people no matter your backgrounds or economies. And it's easier to make those kind of connections with totally different people and not being stuck in this mainstream world and society where you grew up and the local society. I don't know if that makes sense. I do music, not philosophy.
Yeah. Of course. But at the music level, if I understand it correctly, basically you can listen to music from all corners of the planet. You have a diversity of influences, and maybe that kind of breaks the grip that your traditional mainstream kind of culture would have on you otherwise.
And I guess 40 years ago, there probably was a record store in town or something, and people had a selection of records and music they could choose from and that they could play. And they probably people went to the same record shop and played the same kind of music and was able to talk about the same kind of music. Now, when you can Google up music on YouTube, on platforms, you can reach music from Japan or Indonesia on the click of a button. is like very different suddenly, with a kind of like coherent tastes and coherent views that one probably had before the internet.
Yep, makes perfect sense. Given this diversity, so you said now like people could meet and basically talk about the same things, right? So I mean at the store, and then basically have kind of the same point of reference. To me, that sounds like, of course, they had a limited selection, but the fact that they could communicate with each other and sort of ping pong ideas between themselves could be a creative process in itself. So, what I'm curious to know now is, given the internet, given the access to every kind of music, Indonesia, Japan, European music, whatever, right? Where do you find the others? Where do you find the people who share a similar interest to you, in order to share that shared interest and maybe develop something new out of it?
I don't really. I'm scared there's a lack of that platform and that like common place in that community when using the internet, where we have like a lot of information and it's very easy to get things, but you can't really reflect and think about it and talk with people face to face, have experienced the same things, and have like the same outlook on the world. And for me, it's like a bit special in a way to talk about like a time with no internet and a time with like where we had record stores and we didn't have like chats, because I'm born in 2004, I think, 21 years ago, and I have like grown up all my life in a world with internet and with this kind of communication, and like it's hard for me to imagine a world sometimes when I'm talking with older people where you don't have these tools and these kind of platforms. And it's kind of special to have like that kind of outlook.
Yeah, of course. I cannot even imagine how it is, because, of course, I grew up in the pre-internet era. Granted, the internet existed, but it wasn't widespread. And me specifically, I didn't have computers until much later in my life, in my mid-20s. So basically, I was living in the old pre-internet world for a long time. Do you get at least a little bit of that face-to-face connection at your university?
Yeah, I love studying, to be honest. And I think we need universities, conservatoires, and academies more than ever right now. Because the idea of having a campus and a place, and a physical place at that, where you can meet people who think alike and people who think differently, and people with doing the same stuff as you, and having a possibility to discuss, to learn, and to talk with each other. It's like, I don't think I could compose and do like art and learn art if I didn't have that possibility
Yeah.
of having this physical arena.
Yeah, very good point. Very good point. Because, of course, you also mentioned AI earlier. Someone may think, I don't know specifically about music, but someone may think in general, well, with the advent of AI and assuming it keeps getting better, why would anybody go to university? What's the point? Like, the AI just knows everything, right? But what you correctly point out now is, well, we still need physical places for like-minded people to share their interests and to create something different out of that, like a melting pot, effectively.
Yeah, in a way, I think there is some kind of fundamental difference between a physical space and a physical forum and internet chat. And I don't think we should underestimate the feeling of having a physical campus and like an actual spot for having people go on discussing and learning from each other. So,
So for you, somebody who has basically lived their whole life online, have you ever been to a forum and basically didn't feel connected to anybody, even though you were chatting with a lot of people?
all the time. It's like, remember especially the pandemic where I started high school, and it was pretty surreal to have like that kind of experience of high school, where the only relation you have to your classmates, to your teachers, to everybody around you, whereas like this small little thumbnail profile pictures. And I think on that first year of high school, I felt like I missed out on so much of what high school should have given me, just because of this screen wall between everyone and between the teachers and the students.
Wow.
Me. And also, I think you learn better and you learn more things and more facets of things when having a physical teacher present and being in the same space. It's a bit like esoterical, I know, but I think there's a feeling with it in being in the same room and having this kind of face-to-face conversation that you miss out on when doing stuff over Zoom.
Yes.
Over internet.
Yes, for sure. And I think, of course, there is the emotional connection. Like you can feel the other person's energy effectively, right? But there is also the fact that when you are co-located with people, it's not just in the formal setting, like, okay, now we are studying, therefore we learn together. It's not just in the formal setting, but it's also the informal setting, like during break time, for example, where you figure out who is interested in what, and you learn things that you wouldn't learn otherwise.
Yeah. And I get, this is also a thing that AI maybe gets wrong, because I think communication and learning is about so much more than the information itself. And these kind of like micro communications and like small break times and small like eye movements and winks and nods to each other. And these kind of communications, for me, that's a big part of learning and learning from each other as well.
And I imagine part of that is also the feeling of being noticed, or the feeling of being acknowledged, or the feeling that, well, what I am thinking about, there is somebody out there who may think that way, but may also push back a little bit. It's not like I am just talking to myself and I always hear yes for an answer.
Yeah.
So let me ask the question I asked you before about the forum in a slightly different way. Have you ever been online and felt a human connection on a forum? Like the kind you would feel face to face with somebody?
Honestly, I don't think so. I don't think I can recall even once the feeling of a digital communication having the same kind of feeling and weight as a physical conversation. So I do feel the answer is almost as simple as that.
And what about social media? I imagine you use the various media, maybe the chats that are related to gaming as well. I don't know, but I imagine. And do you have any shared experience? Like a lot of people, for example, would be gaming together, like a multiplayer game.
Mm.
And maybe you can say, okay, there is a human connection there. So we are not physically together, but we are basically doing something together. So how is that? Is that still feeling too disconnected, or is that a little bit better?
I mean, you're focusing on other things than each other.
Mm-hmm.
And that, for me, would be a fundamental difference also. That you're probably focusing on the game and not like actively having like this kind of... I guess if you're having a chat online with an online person and actively focusing on that chat, you're focusing on having a chat with an online persona and not a person. If you're playing a game, if you're doing something different, if you're focusing on co-working, co-playing, I don't know, co-writing something, you focus on that foremost, and if a person comes through your left ear and through something different, and you don't, I feel like you can avoid many of those pitfalls we have in online forums and teacher pupil lessons on Zoom. We're like primarily focused on a digital copy of each other, and it's very uncanny, I feel.
Is this a sentiment shared among people your age, or maybe younger even, where they sense that something is not right and they search for the human connection? Or do you think like you are the exception to the norm?
I think there is for real coming a backlash against the internet wave imagination. I used to not have a smartphone for like 5 years because I was very tired of having this weird distracting communication device where I would always be taken from the real life and the real life situations and the joys of being physically present. And for me, that was an active choice. And I do know like 5, 6 people who do the same in my age. And also, I'm not active on social media. I do think there's many of us who are like uninstall Facebook as well. Just like writing websites, which was we do. Or communicating by text messages or phone or mail.
And as part of this backlash, is there like a revival of joint activities? I don't know, board games, or I don't know, going to the park together to play some sport, or in your case, to go somewhere and just practice playing some music? Like, is there like a tendency to do that, or is it mostly okay? I reject all those apps, but otherwise, I don't really try to change too many things.
I hope people are trying to approach and trying to like have a create and maintain social arenas outside of the internet. But still, I am a bit afraid that people are replacing the old internet communication with no communication at all. Because I think like student organizations and student events, which I work a little bit with in my time. Those are like still have like a pretty low activity level compared with what was usual for like 15 years ago or 20 years ago. So I don't think like people are physically, socially active as much as we could be.
Yeah. That sounds tricky. Yeah, that sounds very dangerous, actually. Because your one option is to either use all those distractions. Basically, your other option is to effectively isolate yourself.
Mm.
And that doesn't sound like a good set of options.
No, absolutely not.
I remember now, of course. Like me, I wasn't growing up with the internet. So, like, you finish school, basically, what you do, you go out and you find people and you play or you just hang out.
Mm.
That was basically life. Like, you would always meet someone. Like, we would never arrange a meeting. Like, hey, let's meet at this time at that place. You just go to the place and eventually you will find everybody. Like,
Oh,
whereas now I imagine this never happens. You go there, you will be alone.
yeah. I think so, unfortunately.
Yeah. And just to add to this, I remember already noticing the effects. Back in the day, there was this internet cafe phenomenon, and there were these LAN parties, local area network parties, where they would play World of Warcraft or whatever. It was when World of Warcraft was becoming a thing. And I remember noticing already, like, younger kids were basically absent. It was like me and my friends, and
Oh,
the younger ones didn't exist, as it were. They were all playing on the computer.
oh.
So I was like, yeah, if this continues, we will. Yeah, it's a different world.
And I don't have the experience of this kind of pre-internet socialization and pre-internet arenas.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, to be very like, take a very banal example. I don't know how to set up a LAN party
Mm-hmm.
or have how to create and have a community who like hangs around a basketball court or some place where people can meet me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have those skills, I feel like.
Of course, you can
Maybe all
start
the people
small.
do.
Of course, you can start small. Like, for example, let's say this Sunday it's a sunny day, right? Let's imagine this
Yeah.
Sunday it's a sunny day. So you text your friends and you're like, well, how about we go for a picnic? You know, the spring is coming and maybe we can use this opportunity.
Yeah.
It's a sunny day. Let's go for a picnic, or let's go by the sea or some lake or whatever. Let's go to the park or whatever and get some fresh air. Like something small like that. Like, basically, you have to start with something. It may sound silly, right, to tell people, hey, let's go for a picnic, if you haven't done it before, but it has to start somewhere.
Yeah, because in some ways I feel it's easier almost to create these big appointments, these like kind of big parties and big events. Like, hey, we're having like a formal dinner party for like 3 hours on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
For me, that's almost easier to put up than a very like low key almost meetup.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So it's funny. It really is.
Yeah, that's tricky. That's tricky. How about clubs? Like, there are all these clubs that people go to. Dancing club, a painting club, a music club, a sports club. And I imagine there are such clubs in your area. So maybe that is another option. Like,
I always meet people going to the student pub.
mm-hmm.
So I have that luxury, I think, that
Okay.
I can always attend the student pub and I meet people I know at the student pub.
Okay,
and that's
good.
kind of very easy to do. And it's all the stuff happening in student pubs, and there's always people I know. But sometimes I wonder, like, what will happen? How is it for the people who are like maybe a bit older than me and don't have this possibility?
Yeah, the
And don't
student.
have like, are this ingrained in maybe student life or other arenas as I am, and probably don't have the possibility of being social outside of internet. I'm a bit worried about that.
Yeah, of course. The way you phrase it sounds unsettling. And of course, it's the same for students, present day students who will eventually be out of the studying ecosystem, like the studying institutions. Like, yeah, how do you adjust then, of course?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, yeah, like you have to make it silly, I think, a little bit. Like, we be like, hey, it's a sunny day, let's do it. I am already wearing my t-shirt.
Yeah. It's horrible. I mean, there's so much things happening in the world and so much bad things happening in the world. It's so easy to get like overly serious about everything.
Mm-hmm.
I do think we need a bit of silliness back. And a bit
Yes.
of like this low-key hangout. Yeah, doing stuff on our own terms and not worrying as much as we do now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think one major change of the internet, or not the internet, the computer era, like the digital era, is that everything is on record, right? And uh, basically the stakes are really high. So if you say something stupid, well, it's always there. Nobody forgets it, kind of.
Oh,
So maybe that is what contributes to the shift towards seriousness. Whereas in the pre-computer era, you say something stupid, only the person next to you knows about it, and of course they laugh and they forget it the next day. It's not broadcast to the world.
yeah. I'm like a bit unsure if that's always. It's easy to feel like that's the case when I'm publishing things and saying things online. But sometimes I'm a bit curious, as if, is that actually the case? I was being taught in school to like being very mindful of what I put up online and not like publishing too much low effort weird content online, and tend to be very picky about what you do online. But I think for me personally, recently, like doing my website and posting a lot of stuff using social media APIs, I'm like starting to be a little less criticizing what I do online. I'm just like putting weird things out there, doing weird pieces and like very low effort music. Just putting up my website. No one cares.
Yes, that's a good point. Yeah.
I wish we could use the internet more as that kind of space. More in this like weird, hyper serious, everything is political, important, and with like 3 or 4 filters on.
Yes.
And, I hope we could go back to like that kind of notion of internet a little bit more.
The good thing with that is that it's a personal initiative. It's something that you like you specifically, but the general you can actually do on the posts that you make, whether it's on your profile or your personal website. And I think part of that is how we have internalized the idea that faults are really harshly punished. So every mistake you make is really punishable. And a small example of this is with typos. Like me, I told you earlier, like I write it and I publish it. And there are typos, like there are always typos. And people will tell me, hey, Prot, you made a mistake. If they send me the change, I will apply it out of politeness. But otherwise, I'm like, okay, yeah, so what? What happened?
Yeah.
Will the world end because I said something wrong? No problem. Let it be. Accept it, and that improves you mentally.
Yeah. Because now with me, often when I write texts and stuff, I tend to sometimes copy paste the text into AI and like ask AI check for grammatical errors and see what it returns. But maybe like that's a habit I don't really need. It's like
The thing is, me, I didn't have that luxury back then, but even now, I wouldn't do it. Like, I prefer to have all the errors there intact, because then looking back, I can check what has changed in the meantime. Like, if I go and check some of my writings from, I don't know, 10 years ago, there are a lot of mistakes in language, at the language level, like in grammar, in syntax. But that's part of the process. Like, did I just start writing and I was the finished article? Of course not. I learn by doing. That's part of it. And embracing that growth means that you are effectively untouchable. Like, you don't feel bad for who you were. I mean, at some point you were not good. At another point you become better. Like, that's for everybody.
And like spinning back to what we talked about earlier, I feel like that kind of growth and learning is a way of growth that maybe technical tools and AI can't really approach. Because learning through error and like learning to revisions and using old stuff and using errors like consciously, it's not something technical tools are good at, because they never write errors. That's a very... I don't think it's healthy to never write errors.
Yeah. And I think I would say this is not so much a technology problem, even though, of course, what you say is true. Like, if the language that it produces is grammatically correct, then of course there are no errors, right? In that regard. But I think this is mostly a human problem rather than a technology problem, supported by the technology we have. For example, you mentioned earlier when something is parsed through 4 filters, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's a human thing where it's like, oh, I am posting a picture of me. So, of course, it has to look all pretty and stuff. I am posting an article of mine. It has to equally look all pretty and stuff, right? So I think we have this idea that others will be really harsh with our imperfections. And I think that's a fear that is not really justified, because others may never even notice. And even if they notice, like, what are you going to do? You're going to hide it? Like, for example, I will hide, let's say, my language errors. Eventually, I have to talk with you. Will I stop speaking? Like, what will happen? The errors will come out.
Yeah. Like, really practically, I think I used to speak with a more like American or British tone, more like a proper English tone. I think that's something like that I fell away a bit. And now I think I have a more prominent Norwegian accent when I talk English. And I don't really have a problem with that. It's something I've gotten used to and something I've embraced, because I think it's more important to talk with each other than to talk correctly with each other. So I think there's a point to me be made there.
Yeah. No, you're right. And I think, of course, what matters with language and generally is that we communicate. Other than that, I think it adds a nice touch to have these cultural specificities. Like you just mentioned the Norwegian accent, and I think it sounds very nice. I really like it, by the way.
Thank
I have friends of mine who are Italians, for example. And maybe you have heard how an Italian sounds when they talk in English. And they are ashamed of it. They don't want to have that strong Italian accent in their English. And I'm like, why? To me, that sounds beautiful. Like, it adds musicality to what otherwise is mundane. It's really monotonous. Whereas you're bringing something that is not that common. And I think that's interesting. And it sort of invites people to pay more attention and be like, what is this? Yeah, well, what do you have there?
And there is so much information also in the way, the quirks, the accent, your hand movements and gestures when you're speaking. That is a so large part of the message and the things you convey. Like, we can't just ignore it and try to blur away and erase away all those minor, inconsistencies or faults. And it's it feels better to embrace them.
Yeah,
that's something I also think about when I compose. Also, just rather than trying to make a breath sound and an sound when woodwinds play to be unheard of and trying to blend in. I'd rather must like to enhance it and make it stand out and make it communicate. So I love context and all the facets.
Yeah. Oh, this is beautiful because I think it also dismantles this facade, this pretentiousness. It's like, oh, I am not a human, I'm not breathing now, kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Whereas you are like, what do you mean? Of course you are a human. So here, breathe. And it's like, okay, let's embrace what we have. Let's embrace the human side of it and amplify it effectively. And I think through art, that is also a powerful way to contribute to what you said earlier about the backlash, where people will be in need, I think, of the humane experience.
Yeah.
And maybe art has an important role to play in that regard. And I guess with innovative approaches like what you were telling me about earlier, you can really have also funny ways of doing that. Of course, I cannot really think about it, but also add an element of silliness to it or lightheartedness to it, where it's
but
just easy.
It's so easy to neglect all those unimportant or ugly or annoying parts of human communication and human art that we try to hide, especially in the things we display and communicate to through technology. And I think there's a need to enhance those parts and be very conscious about them.
Yeah. And of course, human communication, a very large part of it is non-verbal. And this is something that is actually not just human communication. It's like I see it with dogs, for example. I have 4 dogs, and I can just do something without saying a word, and I have communicated my intent to them. Because, of course, I know their mannerisms and they know mine. So they know the cues and they pick up on the cues. And it doesn't matter what I say because they already know what I mean. And I think people are the same. Like, maybe we don't understand it consciously because we do it all the time without thinking about it. But if you actually are mindful of that, you can tell what somebody means, even if they are not saying it.
Yeah. And I think we tend to focus on like the very rational part of speech, a very rational part of knowledge, and those kind of words we can write down, and the parts of speech and communication that we can criticize and make transcripts of. And there, very much of our communication gets lost, and we get very reduced to speaking machines and not humans.
Yeah. Very well put. And it's exactly that, because we have an emotional side, which is not something we can opt out of. Like, we have this idea that, people are rational, right? And we think that we can reduce ourselves to rational beings. So, agents of rational action. We don't do anything else. And that is, as you correctly said, reducing. It's the correct word, because that's exactly what it does. It takes the whole thing and it reduces it to a very tiny part of the whole. And I think that this is something that we have to cultivate ourselves actively through accepting our imperfections, through the mistakes, through what we said here, doing something that is not too serious. Forms of artistic expression that try to break some norm or some expectation, but then also trying to do things, small things like this picnic I was telling you about earlier, or whatever. It doesn't have to be something specific, but basically run counter to this idea of the mechanized, streamlined kind of person.
That's kind of one of my favorite pieces of music or art, or I don't know what to call it, is this piece from the 60s by Alison Knowles, one of the Fluxus people. And she did this performance called Make a Salad, where she made a salad and served to all of the audience. And that was it. Peace ended. And I think she had a point in embracing that side of performance. And I mean, even if you don't like conceptual art and stuff, I don't feel there's a need for making very abstract, very weird stuff. I still think you can partake in that piece and like the salad, like the taste of it.
Yes. The taste of it, and also the courage to do it, right? It's like, who are you? What is this? Like, how dare you do something that, well, it hasn't been done before. Just to say on this, I think it's good to do these kind of out of the ordinary initiatives, though they also have the potential to become kitsch, where now everybody wants to do something like this, and we forget that we should also be doing actual art in the process.
For me, it's a bit of like that when I judge my work, I often judge like the qualitative way, like think of when I perform a work by me or something, I want to communicate the idea and the message of the work. And I don't want to communicate the message of this work adopting the ideas of some 60s person or trying to stay within a trend of the last 10 years. And it's very weird to think about, I put up this piece with a viola in a balloon or something. What do I actually communicate with this piece? Do people see this as a commentary on plastic violas? Or do people see this as a reference to other pieces? And I do want, is something I'm training a bit on in my studies. How do I minimize the interference of other references, other connotations, other weird like side messages and other things coming in the way of my main message and my main piece? And that's the danger of kitsch. Like, if my piece communicates more the idea of this piece is a 60s reference rather than having an actual message.
Yes. Of course, it's important to be mindful of all these influences and all these lateral messages that are being communicated. Though I am curious about the strategy, like how do you go about effectively decontextualizing your work? Because of course you are part of a living tradition in a sense. You are part of a continuum. So do you have like a technique or some way of going about it where you try to be more purposeful, that this is the message and you blot out the other messages?
I think in the same way as I do when reusing my old sheet music scraps in org mode, I tend to be mindful of things and stuff that has been done before, but I always tend to do things in an antithesis, in a commentary, or in like a contrary way. So if I would be inspired by Make a Salad, the art piece, I would probably do something with a picture of the artist up on a screen and pointing out something or commentating on something from the piece. Or maybe do a general reflection, an art piece about the view on everyday activities that they had in the 60s. Rather than adopting the idea in itself. So for me, that's it's an easy path to avoid this kind of kitsch and repetition and almost pastiche works. To always do things on the contrary.
How is it now when you are trying to take inspiration from the past and you want to take something that you have seen before and bring it to the present era? How do you do it in a way that captures the authenticity of the original message, but doesn't try to just bring it to the modern era without contextualizing it? So basically, how do you bring it to the modern era, but make it relevant in that era? Like, do you have like a mental model for that? Like something you pay attention to?
I never care about those authenticity or integrity of the message. And then it suddenly opens a great deal of possibilities. of dealing with older knowledge. I'm part of the unthankful generation, I guess. And I feel a bit of that in my studies as well. It's a lot of contrarianism and rebel souls. And I'm quite satisfied with that. And I think and I hope our professors too, like, are pretty satisfied and okay with that too.
Yeah,
This
I
kind
think.
of
Sorry.
against the grain. Sorry.
I think there is a value to that. I think it's good to be contrarian and to basically go your own way. Though, again, as with everything, once it becomes an end in itself, well, we will be contrarians for the sake of being contrarians, right? Then it loses its significance because now it's like a shadow play. It's like a meme. It's not anymore contributing something that could inspire us to create something greater. It becomes an internal, self-referential kind of discussion, and it's no longer in touch with society at large.
But I think there lies a possibility in a way of being contrarian and being like against the old by just not actively being contrarian, but just like don't paying respects and being like open to the possibility of reworking and reformatting and recontextualizing old music, old thoughts, and old ideas without like actively doing so.
Yes.
I think there is like, it's maybe there like spirit lies in being like new for me, and not in like the feeling of being actively against always. And I think it's very hard to be like very angry and very contrarian today, because like with the internet, people are so used to seeing so much violence, so much hard language, so much angry people, that like the angry, like provocative artworks don't feel the same today as they used to feel on the 90s.
Yeah, of course. Because in a sense, they are not angry enough.
No. Quite moderate in many ways.
Do you have any traditional music from your country that you try to play in a new way? And do you get people say, "Oh, no, this is traditional, you shouldn't vandalize it"?
I don't think I have like the that kind of relation with folk music. Really, because I had a mainly classical training when I was younger. So my like old house gods were like the three Bs, you know, Bach, Brahms, Beethoven.
Okay.
And like the harmonies of Schoenberg and forms of Schenker, which are like major old 19th century composers and theoreticians. And for me, the recontextualizing and being like contrary was mainly about like those persons. And I have actually gotten the message from a person in my audience that you can't do that to Bach when I did a piece. And I was almost a bit proud of myself that day because, yes, I want you to feel that way. I want you to see this kind of person in a new light. And I have evidently succeeded in that. So I was very proud.
Good. Yeah, that's exactly the kind of response you want to elicit if you are going to be contrarian.
Yeah.
So, on the point of not being overtly now contrarian, how do you introduce your own original works? So you don't just take Bach and you do it in your own way. Like we are talking about now your way, like what you want to put out there. How do you approach that?
Like getting my own voice?
Yeah, like here is a piece that comes from me. Maybe it has influences, of course, but it's not really meant to elicit a response which is like, oh no, you cannot do that to Bach.
I mean, I tend to use all the theories, all the work, other sounds, experience from other life as material in my pieces and process them in a way. So I can't, like, with my hand on my heart, say that my material is inherently my own material. And then I tend to kind of process experiences and process information that I have in a music environment. And I want the audience mainly to think of like, yes, that is another way to experience this falling fifth. Or this is another way to experience this bird sounds. Or this is another way to experience being on your phone, for example. So I think sometimes my music can be a bit contrarian, I think. But I think mainly it's very often reflective. And like my way of processing things and showing to the audience how I process things and how I listen to things.
Good, good. How do you feel about what you mentioned where the material isn't really mine because it comes from all the stimuli I am exposed to? How does that feel in terms of your relationship with what you put out there? Like, do you feel like it's less of you, or do you feel that it's because of you that this thing is getting out there?
I think I'm classically schooled in a classic tradition and like the classical German tradition, where very much focus is put on the processing of themes, leitmotifs, and materials, rather than the materials themselves. And then it gets pretty easy for me also in comparison now to say, yes, maybe that little fifth in the start, or that little traffic bleep in the beginning wasn't like entirely made by me. But the way I processed this, listened it, and developed it such thoroughly makes it very easy for me to take ownership and to feel like this is my piece. This is my way of listening to it.
Yeah.
So it folds itself in that way.
Yeah, that's fascinating. That's fascinating. In ancient Greece, there was this way of doing rhythmic poetry. So they would be like, they would start by saying, "Oh, muse, sing to me so that I may listen to what you are saying and then write a poem or play some music." So basically, it was a little bit this idea of, well, the material is not mine, it's the muses that are singing, you know, all the stimuli. But then, of course, I will be doing the singing, I will be playing the music. So I have ownership of that.
But the question, I think,
Uh-huh.
with what I've read about Homer as well, was that in ancient Greek, maybe even the ownership part of it, and the feeling that the reciter or the poet had to like write down his name on the piece of paper on top of the piece that was being told. That wasn't as important either.
Mm-hmm.
And people were telling stories, writing stuff down, and not caring that much about ownership
Yeah,
in
yeah,
the
yeah.
way that we do now in the West. And
Correct,
I
correct.
feel we have something to learn from that tradition also. Like, I wouldn't be angry if my name wouldn't be on a sheet music piece I've written.
Mm-hmm.
And if
Mm-hmm.
someone else would put their name on it, I wouldn't be pissed. And I wish we'd have a bit of that tradition back. Like, we're not like individual, super important artists. We work in a community and we work together, and we maybe shouldn't care that much about credit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And maybe you can also draw inspiration from your own culture. I don't know much about it, so maybe I'm sounding ignorant here. But from what I understand, the sagas are essentially the same idea, like the spoken word from one generation to the next. And in essence, there isn't an author. It's like we did it. So
Yeah,
maybe I don't say about the themes, but the making of it.
it is an oral tradition in essence, I
Mm-hmm.
think.
Mm-hmm.
Both these sagas and you got like the old folk songs, the kvad,
Mm-hmm.
going through generation. And I believe there's like a long ballad in Norwegian called Draumkvedet,
Uh-huh.
which really hasn't ever been written down and contextualized. And it still is an oral tradition continuing on through this day.
Oh, wow.
And I love like those kind of oral culture
Mm-hmm.
preserving. We have a folk music department at our school, which still like, even though we're an academy, they still like teach and preserve music that way through like a teacher playing and a student listening and taking from the teacher. And yeah, I'm very jealous of those students. I'm very inspired also.
Uh-huh. Because to connect also to what we were saying earlier about, having a sense of community, connections with people face to face, all that. I get the sense that the oral tradition is also a more human connection kind of experience. It's more communitarian in spirit, I imagine.
Yeah. I mean, it is easier for me at least to connect to a performance or to a text or to a work when I know like this is a piece or this performance we have created in community. And this is a piece or painting performance with no specific author and no specific author with a specific message.
Mm.
And then it's like, then I don't need to have this kind of filter where I actively need to think about what did Beethoven mean by this?
Mhm.
What did Homer think when he wrote these lines?
Mhm.
And when I don't have that kind of filter, it's easy for me to just focus on the music or the texts and just enjoy.
Mhm. Mhm.
I don't know about you.
Yeah, yeah. So um, because of course you have a different kind of training. What do you think your training, so the classical German kind of training you told me about, what do you think that means in social terms? I mean, in terms of the interpersonal dynamics.
Mhm.
Do you think that it still cultivates a community? It still creates this sense of sharing and collectiveness? Or do you think it takes a little bit away of that, or it creates some friction there?
I do see some connection sometimes between like the strong, like individualistic classical German culture and like the very individualistic kind of Norwegian Swedish culture that I've grown up with. It's very much about like, what do I want? What do I feel with this? Where do I want to go? Which kind of education will help me realize my dreams? And in a way, I feel like some of the older big music pieces are really like supporting this kind of tradition where I am central and the individual is important. So yes, I do feel like there's some kind of, what is call it, ukultur, misculture, culture in that way of thinking sometimes. Where you miss out on a lot about community, agency in the audience, agency across the community, and collaboration.
And what you just said, of course, connects to what you were telling me earlier of trying to bring in the audience. And I get the sense that maybe now you are seeing like a bigger project to your music where it's like, well, at the one hand, of course, it's about playing music. At the other hand, it's about building connections, like establishing bonds between people, cultivating a community.
I mean, I don't think it's even possible to ignore the aspect that music, and probably other art as well, has a social function in the way that community dinner, or like a basketball game has. And I think rather than trying to make like art music with a strong message, maybe it's worth trying to explore the functional aspect of music, which is just about making connections, having good time, treating each others well.
Yeah, good point. Let me switch topics a little bit, and maybe this could be our last topic, unless you have something else to bring up.
No.
You mentioned your website.
Yeah.
So, what is that project like? What was your idea? Why did you want to start a website?
I think I did a few like pieces with web, where like as some online JavaScript logic going on behind the scenes, determining what kind of sheet music people are going to have displayed. And I needed a domain to host that on. And then I got the domain. And then I was like, yeah, I have a domain now. Why not like go the whole way? And then I just like, it became like a hobby project for me. In the way like Emacs tinkering and crocheting is for some. So now I'm just like tinkering and updating it and having fun with it, rather than it being like a professional looking standard portfolio site. Yes, it is a portfolio site as well, but mainly it's for having fun and not trying to like actively display myself in a very, very professional LinkedIn kind of a way.
Yes. And do you see yourself maintaining that website going forward? Do you see yourself adding more content in whichever way expresses you? Or do you think it's like a toy project and it won't go further?
I think I'll probably keep on updating and keeping the portfolio sections and every section of that web page live, as long as I'm doing other pieces and music using JavaScript and HTML, CSS. And then I guess it's going to keep on living for quite a long time.
Oh, good. And then I imagine, of course, depending on what you do later with your studies, maybe you will turn it into a more professional looking website.
Yeah. But I'm like unsure of. Yes, I think like very many websites look very much alike now. You know,
Yeah.
we like the AI generated scrolling image portfolio style website.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard like that kind of website getting branded as professional looking. Like
Yeah.
that kind of website you should have. Is it like really? I mean, shouldn't it be more than one way to do websites and this kind of setups? So I'm just like kind of trying to use colors, grids, and animations.
Yeah. It's good. And I think your intuition is right. Like, yeah, of course, there is more than one answer to how to do this. And I think having something that you design and expresses your sensitivities ultimately is a way to also get a sense of who you are. It's actually you, a little bit of you in that website.
Hmm. How do you maintain your website?
So on the spirit of exactly what I said, it's I wrote the whole thing, so HTML and CSS, and it's with a static site generator called the Jekyll.
Oh,
And I did this in 2016. So at the time, I didn't even know anything about Linux, how to use it. So I switched to using Jekyll, and I started using that. Eventually, I learned Linux and Emacs and Friends. If I were to do this today, I would do it differently, but the idea would be the same. Like my HTML, my CSS, and something really simple. I don't need it to have a wow factor, because for me, if there is a wow factor, it is in what I publish and not in the
yeah.
stuff around it. Yeah.
That seems like a great perspective.
Yeah, good. And I think, you will get there as well. Like the more content you have, eventually you're like, well, I want my content to shine.
Yeah, I think that's the process. I'm glad I'm still young and can have this kind of phase where I'm just like trying to make wow music and wow websites.
Yeah, that's normal.
Exploring.
That's part of the process, of course. And I think also, more generally with experimentation, having those experiences where it's like, well, I tried to do something which is catchy and flashy, and now I have a better intuition about it, of whether I want it or not as part of my work and what I put out there. So I think, of course, experimentation is key. Very good. I say we call it a day. We covered a lot of topics.
Absolutely. I'm getting hungry.
Oh, good. So I will stop recording and then we can close the call. So let me stop recording now. So doing it now.